extended position and one that is not in a deployed or extended position. We have not yet found the other two actuators.
The actuators move the engine thrust reversers. The reversers are used when planes are putting their brakes on when landing, and they should not be engaged in flight. While Vogt won't say if this malfunction is enough to cause the crash, there had been some prior trouble with the same part of the plane before Thursday's accident.
On June 28th, the cockpit crew reported that the number 2 or right engine thrust reverser would not deploy. The linkage, some linkage to the thrust reverser was lubricated, and on July 3, a portion of the thrust reverser mechanism on the right engine was replaced.
Vogt also says there is nothing to substantiate claims that birds may have interfered with the flight or that there were problems with the weather. The NTSB says it is also considering reconstruction of the plane with remnants that they have found thus far.
Whether it can be recreated in computers, I don't know, but we will be exploring that because depending on what else we find, it may be extremely relevant.
Vogt emphasized that it would be wrong to draw a final conclusion from the information that they gathered today. He says that the cause of the crash is not yet known, and not to base it on this. There's still a lot of information that they have to collect, and he said the investigation will carry on for many more months. Karen?
Okay, thank you very much, Lori Bishop, live tonight in our Satellite News Center.
Our Secretary of Transportation defended America's airline industry in general and USAir specifically. Thursday's crash was the 5th for USAir in 5 years, and it happened in spite of what Transportation Secretary Federico Pena says was strict government surveillance of the airline.
Our aviation system is the safest in the world. We have, over the last several years, added more surveillance of USAir because of financial challenges as with other airlines, and we have found no problems with any of the inspections we have done of USAir, and they are fit, they are safe. In fact, I will be flying USAir next week.
Pena also says deregulation has not made flying less safe. He says America's airline safety record over the last 20 years has been one of increased safety, even though the industry has lost millions of dollars.
Plans. The Vinings man who says a prayer when he boards a plane and gives thanks when he lands says it's by God's grace that he's home tonight with his family.
Brody, come here. Come here, Brody. Yeah.
Bill Goodwin is preparing for his 24th wedding anniversary tomorrow, an anniversary he might not have experienced if he had been aboard USAir Flight 427 last Thursday night. Goodwin was in Chicago last week on business and heading for a meeting outside Pittsburgh when a call from his assistant here in Atlanta to the USAir gate at Chicago's O'Hare Airport kept him off that fatal flight.
The college had just called my assistant when she'd gotten off the phone with me to say the meeting had been canceled because they couldn't get a quorum together. And she sort of was frustrated because having just talked to me, not knowing exactly where I had been, not knowing if she'd catch up with me again, she immediately went to work and placed a call and got to the USAir desk right there in O'Hare.
Once in Atlanta, Goodwin called his wife Valerie on his car phone to tell her he was home. And she told him that USAir Flight 427 crashed, and there were no survivors.
I felt an incredible sense of peace at that moment. There were no cold chills, there were no big emotional gustures. I just kept driving down the road, and I felt like I was almost bundled up in the arms of God, because it was so obvious to me that the way he had woven together those circumstances to call me off of that plane meant that he really was caring for me at that very moment.
He's so aware that he didn't deserve to be saved out of it, to be kept off that plane. I think it's more the sense that there must be something more to be done in his life, and it's humbling. And also, I think, gives him a sense there's a charge to keep there.
It's real special.
Does that mean you do your chores on time?
No. When he came home and he walked the door, it was like looking at a ghost, you know? And it really was.
Goodwin says he really appreciates things he once took for granted. Events like today's Falcons game mean so much more.
Just to experience something, an athletic event that meant a lot to me through the year, and to be there, to be living it, to be appreciating it, to be alive was just was the best thrill of all.
Well, we're lucky. We really are.
Oh. Bill Goodwin's assistant has already been asked if she will be getting a raise for possibly saving her boss's life, and her reply is, I get to keep my job.
So to sum up the latest developments of the crash investigation, federal investigators have found additional evidence that thrust reversers could have caused the crash. Records show the plane had problems with the braking mechanisms in the past, although the parts were changed. They could have malfunctioned before the crash. And the NTSB is looking at using a hangar to reassemble as much of the aircraft as possible to examine any evidence gathered from the crash site.
To other news.